Latest developments in China-Taiwan tensions as of last week's of November 2025. Tensions between China and Taiwan remain elevated, with no immediate signs of de-escalation. Beijing continues to assert its claim over Taiwan as an inalienable province, while Taipei emphasizes its de facto independence and strengthens ties with allies. Recent developments have been heavily influenced by third-party involvement, particularly Japan's increasingly assertive stance, which has sparked a diplomatic and economic feud with China. Below is a breakdown of key updates from the past 2 weeks, drawing from official statements, military activities, and expert analyses. 1. Escalating China-Japan diplomatic row over Taiwan. The core flashpoint erupted on November 7th, when Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi, in a parliamentary address, stated that a Chinese military attack on Taiwan could constitute a survival-threatening situation for Japan, potentially justifying the use of collective self-defense under Japan's security laws. This marks the first explicit endorsement by a Japanese PM of potential military involvement in a Taiwan conflict, given Japan's proximity, e.g., Yonaguni Island is just 110 kilometers from Taiwan. China has responded aggressively, labeling Takaichi's remarks a grave violation of international law and a red line crossed. On November 22nd, Beijing escalated by sending a formal letter to UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, accusing Japan of threatening armed intervention. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi called the comments shocking on November 23rd, warning that China must resolutely respond to prevent Japanese militarism. This rhetoric echoes historical sensitivities from Japan's imperial era, including its occupation of Taiwan, 1895 to 1945, and the Second Sino-Japanese War, which China cites as costing up to 20 million lives. 2. Military and security moves. Japan's buildup. On November 24th, Japan announced plans to deploy medium-range surface-to-air missiles with a 35-mile range on Yonaguni Island to bolster air defenses and deter potential Chinese incursions. Beijing condemned this as extremely dangerous, arguing it heightens regional risks. Chinese state media linked it to broader U.S.-led efforts to encircle China. Chinese maritime activity. China's Coast Guard has increased patrols around the disputed Senkaku-Daiyu Islands, administered by Japan but claimed by China, with incursions reported as recently as November 16th. Satellite imagery from Reuters, November 24th, shows China modifying civilian ferries for potential troop transport in a Taiwan invasion scenario, including reinforcements for vehicles and temporary floating docks. PLA exercises in the Taiwan Strait continue, with over 10 North Korean MDL crossings in 2025, drawing parallels to cross-strait provocations. Taiwan's response. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense reported purchasing U.S. parts to enhance air defenses against China's frequent ADIZ violations, aiming to raise defense spending to 3% of GDP in 2026 and 5% by 2030. Vice President Xiao Bi-Kim addressed the Interparliamentary Alliance on China in Brussels on November 17th, signaling growing European support. 3. Economic and soft power retaliation. China has weaponized economics. Over 500,000 flight bookings to Japan were canceled since November 16th. Travel warnings issued for Chinese citizens, citing serious safety risks, and 2 Japanese films pulled from Chinese theaters. A planned trilateral culture ministers meeting with South Korea was postponed on November 21st. Trade impacts are mounting, with analysts warning of a broader trade war spillover from the spat. This fits China's pattern of using economic coercion, as seen in past disputes over South China Sea claims. 4. Broader regional and international context. U.S.-China trade truces hold, post-October 30th Trump-Xi meeting. Washington remains Taiwan's key arms supplier. Recent U.S.-Philippine patrols in the South China Sea prompted PLA responses near Scarborough Shoal. European and Pacific ties. Taiwan is pushing back against pro-unification narratives from its opposition Kuomintang Party, whose chair Chang Li-won echoed CCP talking points on November 14th. Meanwhile, Pacific nations like Fiji have resisted Chinese influence under U.S. pressure. Risk assessment. Experts from the Institute for the Study of War and the American Enterprise Institute note China's internal PLA purges, e.g. absent senior officers at the November 5th carrier commissioning, may signal instability, but Beijing views economic pressure as effective coercion. A full invasion remains unlikely short-term due to U.S. deterrence, but gray zone tactics like blockades persist.